Good morning everybody and welcome back to the channel. Join me in today's video as I build these little doors for the nose cone. I'm going to be showing you how I built the hinges, the door, the locking mechanisms. Check this out. The rubber seals, everything you need to build your own door. And then after I show you how I built these small hinges, you would then exactly know how to build the bigger ones. Like these. So without further ado, let's get working and I'll show you how I did all of this. Straight from the laser cutting shop. If you haven't seen my first video, in there I explain in more detail about bending these sections with this homemade bending tool. If you want to go watch it, I'll put a link in the top right to that video. Just knocking the corners to square them off. After bending them, they do not create nice straight corners. Here's the door with all the edges bent. I'm happy with the way it turned out. Alright, so let me quickly show you the SketchUp part of the hinge. So as you can see, this over here was a failed attempt. That was a failed attempt. What I was trying there is to see if I could move the pivot past this corner because I was scared that this was not going to be enough for the hinge to bolt onto. But after doing a small sample and checking on the trailer, I saw that this would be fine. So this here is the final version. So then that's what I sent off to the laser shop. There's the two cut lines for the bend angles. And then that forms my hinge. As you can see, I've been busy. And here we have the drawings for the two doors on the nose cone that I just had made. The first step to creating these hinges is bending the ears over. Be sure to get them nice and exactly 90 degrees to the base plate. If you have to make them and can't have the base laser cut, draw a line on the back and cut halfway through with an angle grinder before bending it. That'll give you more or less the same effect as this. So I just got back from the bolt shop, and although I made these holes 5mm, there is no 5mm Allen cap screw with a shank that's long enough. They don't get near this length. So what I'm going to have to do is drill this out to 6mm and then use these bolts. They're also not the right size. If you look at that, there's way too much shank protruding at the bottom. So I'm either going to have to space it up with washers or try and thread this up a little bit, cut the threads further up so that it can work. Let me quickly drill these holes out and see how it works. The rest of them I'll drill on the press before bending them. That'll be way easier than trying to drill them in position. Stainless steel becomes hard as hell after getting them hot. As the laser passes for the holes, it tempers the edge where it made contact with the stainless. Drilling them is not easy. So much easier than hand drill. When you bend the ears over, I found that they tend to bend more to the one side, making them skew. Although they might be 90 degrees from the base, they also need to be straight when looking from them from the top. You can see me straightening them here with a hammer. So here you can see that that corner is not square, so I'm going to bend that a little bit more. Right there, it's perfectly square. That's good to go.
using the die grinder to remove the burrs from drilling them bigger.
So before I weld the corners up, I normally just put a bolt through and tension it up to take up any slack in the hinge. So that way there's no slack while I'm busy welding it.
I keep the filler rod close in case I see a hole forming, but on 99% of them I just fuse the corners together.
Instead of adding washers, which I don't think would look good, I'm going to rethread this piece of shoulder that's excess.
Remember that when cutting threads, you need to go forwards and backwards all the time. The reverse action clears the material that has just been cut from your bolt. If you only continue in one direction, the tap will sometimes give in and break.
And as you can see, now the nut can come right up to the end. That's going to work perfect. And there we have 4 bolts, all cut down to right length. So now the shoulder is exactly the size of the hinge.
The right length bolt makes the world of difference. Just look at how neat this looks. 4 hinges ready to be installed.
Alright, next up is building the frame on the inside for the rubber. It's normal angle iron, as you can see there, and that'll hold the rubber like that.
Here I'm just measuring and marking the 45-degree cut angles. I could save myself so much time if I had a bandsaw that could cut these angles perfectly straight. I don't know if it's possible, but I sure can't cut a piece of angle iron with a hand grinder at a 45-degree angle. But I don't have a bandsaw, so this is how I do it.
Because I've never been able to cut an angle iron square, meaning perfectly 45 across there and 90 degrees across there, I made this little jig, just 2 pieces of wood, made sure that that corner there is exactly 45, and then that is exactly 90 degrees to the bed.
Sanding them on the machine after cutting in the grinder gets me pretty darn close. You'll see just now.
If you look at those two, and then the other side, that is as close to perfect as it you'll get. Without a bandsaw, that's the only way I can do it. What we want to create is a box. So this is what you want to end up with. So now you can see there's your turn lip for the door rubber right around. Alright, it's the next morning, so let me continue on this door expedition. I just want to get some rubbers installed, although they're temporary, just to check the fitment of the door. I was a little bit worried after adding these angles that I will still have enough clearance for the gas bottle to get in and out of here. So let's see how it goes. Got my gas bottle here. Ah, that's perfect. Put it in the corner, strap it down. Still gives me lots of space for ground sheets and whatever else I want to chuck in here. But yeah, so the gas bottle, it fits.
A major downside to these hinges is the lack of adjustability. If you get the first hole wrong, the only way to do adjustments is on making the hole bigger on the door, making the bolt be able to slot around. This is not an issue, as you can have one bigger hole to get the adjustment perfect. Once you're happy with the door gaps, you can drill the second one with a tight fit hole, which will keep the door in place and not be able to move around.
Okay, the first issue, I screwed up somewhere on the design work. The hinge pushes the door too deep onto the rubbers, which is not an issue, but I don't like it. I'll show you over here. So that's going to be the door. Let me line it up. So if this has to go flat now, it pushes this corner past this corner over here. So it'll look like the door's a little bit sunken in. So I need to get the hinge out. The only way I can do that now is either by making another hinge, which is going to take too long, or adding a 2mm spacer behind this. So I'll cut a piece of steel exactly this size, so it'll look like it's got a thicker base, and that way space the hinge a little bit out, because I'm really not in the mood to have new doors made. I'm probably going to put 2 spacers in just to test it and see how that works. Alright, I've got my 2 spacers in. It simulates an extra base plate that I'm going to create later on. So now if I put the door on and line it up and get the squeeze going, you can see now it's not sunken in at all. It's perfect. I can even go 1mm less. These are 3mm plates, so I think I'll just go for a 2mm plate, and that'll going to be a perfect fit over here. And you won't even notice it. It'll just look like this base plate is 4mm instead of 2mm, so that's not an issue. Now to see if I've got some 2mm plate lying around somewhere in stainless. Luckily, a while ago I built some stainless steel tanks, and I've got some 2mm sheet offcut and 316 stainless steel. That's perfect for the base plates. That there gives me a nice straight edge to run the grinder against. I've just bolted these together so that when I weld them they stay exactly in place.
I just fused them together on one side. This weld is purely to keep the base plate attached to the hinge, making it easier to line up. The bolt will provide the main clamping force to the base plate and the spacer. I went ahead and installed both, as I knew the spacer would be good and didn't need to test fit it again. Gotta love it when stuff comes together and works good.
Here we have a compression latch. Okay, so now I need to cut the square out for this, so this can't turn in the body. So it's not a round hole, it's actually a square hole that keeps this in place. You can basically install this either way depending on how far you want it to grab. Right, let me show you what a compression lock is and how it works. So when you turn it the first 90 degrees, it swings it into place. So that now will grab the back of your seal or your frame or whatever you want it to grab. The next 90 degrees then pulls it in about 5 or 6 millimeters, creating your seal. So when you release it, it first pushes out and then turns away. So it turns up and compresses. So as you can see here, the first turn, the latch already grabbed the back part of my frame here, so it's already closed. Now by turning it further, you'll see, if you watch this space over here, how it pulls in. See how it sucked the door into the rubber. So that's your first stage, still closed and then completely open. Well, if you're still here, thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, share the video and subscribe to this channel. And hopefully you got some tips if you want to build your own little doors and hinges for a camper or a trailer, whatever else you want to build. But that's going to be it for this one, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye for now.